Hello everyone, Zira here. Now we are going to listen to podcast news which includes educational tips. While walking in the morning or evening, while cooking, cycling or during free time you can listen. It will enhance your learning and understanding of various accents and pronunciations. Listening improves the quality of communication and comprehension. Before going ahead, I would like to welcome you all to the virtual school. A new way of learning and teaching, with the vision of Let's Grow Together. Our mission is to learn how to learn and teach how to teach. So stay tuned. And here we go. Educational tips. India in a nutshell. Author Devdutt Pattanaik on the Herculean task of condensing the vast spectrum of Indian culture and heritage into a book, specifically for civil service aspirants. Madhumitha Srinivasan. Most know Devdutt Pattanaik as an expert on Indian mythology, speaker, illustrator, and author. Interestingly, he was also a former civil services aspirant who wrote the UPSC exam in 1996. Pattanaik has now combined his expertise in the former and experience with the latter to come up with a book that will serve as a comprehensive read on all things culture, art, and heritage, with a contemporary outlook and packaging, specifically for civil service aspirants. Indian culture, art, and heritage for civil services examination provides a contextual understanding of how these three components have been an intrinsic part of the process of creating, building, and resurrecting the Indian society from its inception. Divided into 64 chapters under broad topics such as economic, social, political, scientific, and spiritual culture, performing arts, visual arts, and new media, it also features contemporary topics like queer, LGBTQ+, Internet, and social media, and aims to provide a holistic understanding of the subjects, and subsequently, society at large. Having recently launched the book, Pattanaik shares his thoughts on the importance of understanding culture and heritage in a larger context, and his experiences of working on the book. What is the need for a UPSC aspirant or a civil administrator to learn about Indian culture? Art and culture as a subject is a significant aspect of the UPSC examination. Apart from its value in attempting objective questions in prelims, it also acts as a reflection of how well students understand the world, economics, politics, civilization, and so on through the lens of time and space. Apart from this, culture is the belief of a community that is transmitted from one generation to another. While studying culture, we study people's food, clothing, and shelter preferences, their belief systems, rituals, and customs, all of which is critical for a person to become a good bureaucrat in future and lead a career in administration. What prompted you to come up with the idea for such a niche book? For me, the need to write this book arose when I went to Pearson's office to give a motivational talk, and they came up with the idea of writing something on culture for UPSC aspirants. This brought back a lot of memories of me giving the UPSC exam, 25 years ago. I cleared my exams, but did not do very well in my interview, where one of the questions was on heritage and tradition. I could not answer it due to a lack of understanding to some extent, and that bothered me. Hence, I took this as an opportunity and decided to put together a book that will make things easy and simple for aspirants and help them understand the logic behind culture. Writing this book also helped me to streamline my thoughts, and I hope this will help UPSC aspirants in their preparations. From your experience of having given the UPSC exam, could you share some exam preparation tips? I believe that practice is the best way. What I always tell people is to study for half an hour, and then take a break for 10 minutes, or study for 20 minutes and then take a break for 10 minutes. I believe that the more breaks you take, the better you remember. And then practice questions, MCQs, verbalize the answers, because the more you speak it out, the more your brain remembers. There are two essential components for success at the UPSC exam: subject matter knowledge and aptitude. While the former can be learned, how can one develop the latter? The easiest way to develop aptitude is self-realization, i.e., the understanding of where one stands with respect to the ecosystem. For example, in any situation, do we behave like a predator, rival, or an ally? One needs to see what happens around him/her all the time and keep studying it in order to understand what one's aptitude. Do you have a helping aptitude, or do you have a grabbing aptitude? Do you see yourself as someone who is being constantly threatened, or do you see yourself in a position of power? It is the self-reflections that develops one's aptitude. Aptitude only comes when you understand yourself and the world better. Indian Culture, Art and Heritage for Civil Services Examination is published by Pearson. It is available in both English and Hindi. Price, 695 Indian rupees. Thank you. Sleep your way to success. Rejuvenate yourself, mentally and physically, at the end of each day with at least 7 hours of rest. As deadlines for project submissions or exam time loom near, students are known to stay up past their usual bedtimes and force themselves awake earlier than usual. Thus, they end up clocking very few hours of sleep. What they may not realize is that their sleep deprivation may actually jeopardize not only their performance, but also their ability to learn and remember. Not to mention the toll that a sleep deficit takes on physical health and emotional well-being. In Why We Sleep, The New Science of Sleep and Dreams, sleep scientist Matthew Walker advocates a healthy sleep regimen of 7 to 9 hours for optimal functioning. If you think that a week or two of compromised sleep cannot cause serious issues, Walker reminds us that even a week of reduced sleep can mess with our blood sugar levels so much so that we might be considered pre-diabetic. Further, almost all psychiatric problems are associated with disturbed sleep. Your nightly snooze duration also impacts your longevity. Rest assured. The one thing you can do to rejuvenate yourself, mentally and physically, at the end of each day is to get around 8 hours sleep. As we engage in distinct stages of sleep at different periods of the sleep cycle, the presence of ocular movements differentiates rapid eye movement, REM, sleep from non-rapid eye movement sleep, NREM. Further, REM and NREM sleep are each characterized by recognizable patterns of brain activity. REM sleep reconfigures the emotional circuits in our brain and helps us regulate our feelings so that they don't get out of hand when we are awake and aroused. As REM sleep is also associated with dreaming, this sleep stage is also believed to spark our creativity. NREM sleep, on the other hand, is linked with improved learning and memorizing capabilities. The more deep NREM sleep individuals get at night, the greater is their capacity to recall information learned the previous day. NREM sleep has also been found to boost our memories of motoric routines. So, if you are learning to play a new tennis stroke or a novel piece on the piano, chances are that your performance will improve after a good night's rest. Walker avers that the adage "practice makes perfect" may be amended as "practice, with sleep, makes perfect." Sleep-deprived students rely on copious amount of coffee to force themselves awake. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours. So, if you drink coffee at 4:00 p.m., about 50% of the caffeine will still be in your body at 9:00 p.m., which is sufficient to prevent sleep till at least midnight. If you quaff down more cups later in the evening, you are only mitigating the restorative effects of a good night's sleep. Siesta time. Though you may associate siestas with idleness, Walker and his colleagues have found that taking a nap in the afternoon aided participants' ability to memorize facts compared to a control group that did not snooze. So, don't feel guilty if you catch a 20-minute shut-eye in the afternoon. Walker also emphasizes that sleep doesn't follow the principles of a bank account. If you have a sleep deficit, you cannot make up for it later by depositing more sleep hours into your account. Adults who sleep 6 hours or less per night don't realize that their performance, energy, and alertness are compromised. When we are sleep deprived, we are often poor judges of our own capacities or lack thereof. That sleep is non-negotiable is one of the main messages of his book. Sleep influences practically all aspects of our being, whether it is social, cognitive, emotional, physical, behavioral or nutritional. So, rest assured, try to get as much of it as you can. The writer blogs at www.arunazankaranarayanan.com, and her book, Zero Limits, Things Every 20-Something Should Know, will be released by Rupa Publications. Thank you. Hope Embedded in Despair discussions on the role of online education offer valuable insights on the way forward for higher education. Shubhashri Dazikan. As the pandemic rages, all systems that have been painstakingly put in place are being sorely tested. Often, the trials faced by the people who steer these systems are going undocumented. Under these circumstances, higher education going online, the challenges in India, an e-book edited by Sujan Babu and Ram Ramangsvamya, brings in perspectives of various stakeholders participating in the higher education network. It registers multiple voices by including 6 articles from educators in social sciences and the humanities and the science and technology, engineering, and maths, STEM, disciplines, 4 written by students, 1 each on medical and agricultural education and 2 articles by experts well versed with the Indian and American education systems. In the words of Sudakshina Gupta, whose article is the first in the series, online classes are no substitute for classroom teaching. The reasons range over many issues including shortage of facilities, the digital divide, linguistic differences and more. As Umbili Thomas puts it, it came as an eye-opener for me that out of 110 students in the class, less than 50% had a smartphone. Her college has students from both the rural and urban parts of Kozhikode and also a sizable number of tribal students from neighboring Wayanad. With online classes, the crucial feedback the teacher gets from each student is missing. How then can the teacher tune herself, or himself, to the needs of the class? How does one motivate poor learners? While there is a positive aspect in that online courses by faculty from premier institutions are available to the students in the form of MOOCs, webinars, and Entalsvayam courses, can this be the mainstream rather than just supplementary? Policy issue. Jyotsna Jha also draws the reader to this aspect of the National Educational Policy 2020. She points out that research on open and distance learning, ODL, has not accounted for the structural bottlenecks marked by issues of gender, caste, location, illiteracy, linguistic diversity, income levels, and consequent powerlessness. She points out that the NEP lays disproportionate emphasis on the use of online for various purposes, with reference to an imagined global quality and standard, without reference to relevant research. From her position as faculty in the Department of Communication, University of Hyderabad, Usha Raman describes the challenges in grooming young people to be independent learners. V. Madhurima speaks of how COVID-19 has exacerbated an already existing precarious state of newly formed universities. A physicist, now based in the Central University of Tamil Nadu at Thiruvarur, who has also spent considerable time at Mizoram University, she has witnessed a steady decline of infrastructural support to newer universities. Riddhi Shah, from Department of Mathematics at Jawaharlal Nehru University, speaks of teaching mathematics online and discussing with her PhD students. They also need advice about their synopses, the layout of chapters, she writes, outlining the paucity of online meetings. The article on Teaching and Learning Experimental Science, by Vikrant Yadav and Asiya Darbinian, gives valuable insights on conducting virtual labs. With nuggets of hope embedded in a stream of despair, the book discusses the role of online education in a post-COVID period and in the light of the National Education Policy 2020. It must be read by anyone who hopes to understand the impact of the pandemic on the Indian educational system and is interested in developing solutions for higher education. In this, it serves as a valuable document. Higher Education Going Online, The Challenges in India, edited by Sujan Babu and Ram Ramangsvamya, available for free download at https://www.ias.ac.in/publications/higher_education_going_online. Thank you. Art in a Post-COVID World: How Technological Innovations Have Led to a Redesigning of Pedagogy in Art and Design Studies. Pooja Panchal. The COVID-19 pandemic has compelled mankind to learn, adopt, and master the digital media and the skills relevant to it, no matter what the interests and qualifications. Along with AI, digital media remains the only common ground for all fields of humanity. In the 19th century, the idea of globalization propagated the quest for modernism in visual art, and this led to other states such as contemporary and post-contemporary art. While the term globalization was meant to achieve a sense of freedom and universality, the pandemic seems to have globalized the digitalization of education and art. Developments. It has been a year and a half since online teaching has prevailed over all education systems, including art, something that was considered impossible. Most renowned museums, galleries, and libraries have upgraded themselves through the virtual reality interface that can be accessed online from any part of the world and now reach people in their homes, courtesy various technological interventions such as AR, VR, MR, and AI. Online exhibitions, auctions, and sale of artwork have expanded the reach to include students and artists in India. Due to online teaching, lectures, demonstrations, and speeches by many art academicians from several world-renowned universities have been accessible in India. Many software and apps have been upgraded to meet with the criteria of the academics. Social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and so on have channeled the relevant synthesis between learners and the practitioners of art. Progressive art schools are already working on discovering the post-COVID-19 art education pedagogy for the current generation of young artists who inherently understand the internet and its culture, grammar, and protocols, and who can effortlessly create innovative digital content and projects in ways that the older generation of teachers are unable to fathom. The writer is faculty at School of Visual Arts, World University of Design, Sonipat. Thank you. When the buzzword is AI, artificial intelligence is transforming the future of higher education in more ways than one. Freepik. Ashish Fernando. With artificial intelligence, AI, entering all sectors, higher education is no exception. From the way institutions worldwide have adapted to concepts like virtual assistants and augmented reality in classrooms, it is clear that these technological leaps are here to last. Right now, some of the brightest minds in the world are sitting behind their computers, focusing on building something that we will find out about it only after 2031. Meanwhile, universities around the world are using AI technologies such as smart text messaging, personalized curriculum, and immersive classroom teaching to make applying and studying at their institutes easier for students. AI in learning. Several Indian Start UPS are now offering AI technologies to provide students with a better learning experience from the comfort of their homes. This has been very helpful, especially during the pandemic. However, COVID-19 wasn't the first time universities adopted the AI approach. Technologies such as virtual teaching assistants, along with AI-enabled chatbots, which can understand and answer thousands of questions posted by students and respond accurately within a split second, provide students with the means to personalized study plans and convenient learning. Along with lectures and other classes, test-taking too went online during COVID-19. A 2020 EDUCAUSE poll revealed that more than 54% of institutions were using online or AI-based remote proctoring services, which ensured unbiased testing environments for students. Personal touch. For an individual, AI can help write essays using machine learning. Several organizations have developed technologies that help students not only write powerful essays but also draft resumes and write the statement of purpose for overseas applications. Many assistive softwares use AI to check issues with grammar, plagiarism, sentence structure, and so on. University and job interviews. A resume is required not just to apply to a university but also when applying for jobs after college. AI-powered tools now help students take mock interviews and give them insights into their own characteristics to help them prepare. While resumes come in handy before a student applies to a university, they are also a necessity when they apply for job interviews after graduation. Universities are employing AI-powered technologies that can help students ace these interviews. These help individuals take mock interviews and give them detailed insights into their characteristics, helping them prepare thoroughly while also taking that edge off during the final interview. From immersive classroom learning and virtual assistants, to essay graders and test takers, the use of AI in higher education has grown rapidly during the pandemic. The question we should now be asking is, how far will it extend? The writer is founder and CEO, iSchool Connect. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video as a podcast. Do like, share and comment. Press the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get new notifications. Thank you. Take care and stay safe. God bless you all. Jai Ma Bharati. To download news and editorials in MP3, follow us on Telegram, Virtual School. The link is provided in the description below.